Dear viewers, I greet you all in our Islamic way. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. May Allah's peace, blessings, and mercy be with you all. And I begin by praising Allah. All glory be to Him, our Creator, the Creator of the universe and of everything that's in it. And by seeking His blessings on Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, the seal of that long chain of prophets and messengers from God to man for the guidance of man in areas that cannot be clearly addressed by man, such as the area of faith, the area of acts of worship, the area of the moral code, and the area of the code of transactions with others. And I continue in this episode by what we started a few days ago on scientific notions in the glorious Qur'an. And one of these very important notions is the process of creation, with its three dimensions: the creation of the universe, the creation of life, and the creation of man. And as we have mentioned repeatedly, that the area of creation cannot be understood without admitting and submitting to the great creator of the universe. If anybody who disbelieves in the process of creation and disbelieves in the creator, anybody who does not submit to his creator, if he enters into this area of creation, which they call the beginning of life, he is absolutely lost and he can never reach any conclusion. In the previous episode, we spoke about how the Quran explained clearly that there is a clear-cut difference between the creation of Adam and Eve in the first place and the creation of the descendants of Adam later on. Adam and Eve were created by a miracle that cannot be performed except by the Creator himself, but his descendants were created by marriage. And by marriage, we mean the fertilization of a female ovum by a male sperm, so that a new embryo is created. And this again is done under the auspices of the creation, under his choice. It's he who chooses whom he gives males or females, or both, whom he deprives from descendants, and whom he gives plenty of descendants. So we as Muslims have to admit and accept this fact that Allah creates, and He creates everything, and no other entity can create. We can modify things that are created. We can play around with what has been created, but we can never create. So in the creation of man, Allah has told us that He has perfected everything He has created, and He has begun the creation of Adam from mud. الذي أحسن كل شيء خلقه وبدأ خلق الإنسان من طين. And actually, we can see this clearly displayed in our own lives. We can see the creation of an embryo in our lifetime, which is described in Surah Al-Hajj. The Quran is answering those who negate a resurrection by saying, يا أيها الناس, O people, إن كنتم في ريب من البعث. If you were negating resurrection, if you are doubting resurrection, فإنا خلقناكم من تراب. Look at yourselves. We have created you out of dust. ثم من نطفة. Then after that dust, we have created you out of a small drop of a seminal fluid. نطفة actually is a tiny drop of any fluid. ثم من نطفة. ثم من علقة. For a leech-like stage. And strangely enough, this stage has been recently photographed, and we cannot describe it by anything better than a leech-like stage. It looks exactly like the worm known as the leech. It has got two suckers at its two ends. It attaches itself to the lining of the uterus so that it can live on the blood of the mother until it grows. ثم من علقة ثم من مضغة مخلقة وغير مخلقة. A مضغة means a small piece of meat that has been chewed. And actually this stage, you can see divisions on its surface, that makes it look exactly like a piece of gum or a piece of meat that has been chewed, and that carries the imprints of the teeth on its surface. ثم من مضغة مخلقة وغير مخلقة, supposed to be created or uncreated, because it is at that stage that the spirit is blown into the embryo. And if Allah has decided that this stage will never continue to grow, it will come down drowned in blood. So مخلقة أو غير مخلقة, created or uncreated. لنبين لكم ونقر في الأرحام ما نشاء, to explain to you, and we can establish in the uteri of the females whatever Allah wills, إلى أجل مسمى, until a certain designed limit. ثم نخرجكم طفلا, then we get you out, a little baby, a little born baby. ثم لتبلغوا أشدكم, then we'll cause you to grow until you are mature enough in your youthfulness. ومنكم من يتوفى, some of you would die earlier. ومنكم من يرد إلى أرض العمر, some of you would have a lengthy span of life until he reaches old age. لكي لا يعلم من بعد علم شيئا, and in that stage he can lose memory, can lose lots of the knowledge he has gained before. And then Allah giving the parallel of this creation of the human individual by the growth of any plant from the soil. وترى الأرض هامدة فإذا أنزلنا عليها الماء اهتزت وربت وأنبتت من كل زوج بهيج. You see the example of a soil which is absolutely dry. Once rain comes on top of it, it shakes and jerks, and then it is covered by plantation. It's really amazing for the Quran, a book revealed more than 14 centuries ago to an unlettered prophet, peace be upon him, in an unlettered society, to spell that fact, the description of the successive embryological stages of man with that length and with that precision. You know, since the days of Plato and his colleagues, it was always debated who is the source of the newly born child. Is it the menstruation blood of the female or the fluid of the man? And this argument has went on for generations without any solution, until it was discovered that actually there are living entities in the uteri of the females, the ovi, and in the fluid of the male, the sperms. And this was not discovered until the microscope was developed. And even after decades from the construction of the microscope. So really, the Quran and the Sunnah has elaborated the process of creation of man to no end. Nobody can add anything to what has come out in the Quran and in the sayings of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. To say that we have a nutfa, a small drop of water, a nutfa al-amshaj, the fertilized ovum or a zygote. Then we have a leech-like stage. Then we have a morsel of flesh, a chewed flesh stage. And then we have the creation of bones, the coverage of bones with flesh and skin. This is elaborately detailed in many of the surahs in the glorious Quran. And these stages were only known very recently when a minute camera was placed in the uterus of a pregnant lady. And we came to see that the Quranic description of these stages is so precise, is so detailed, that nobody can add anything to it after the Quranic description. And we can see clearly that a fertilized ovum carries part of the initial dust from which Adam and Eve were created. Then once it is in the form of a leech-like stage, it feeds on the blood of the mother, and the blood is coming from its food, and its food is coming from the soil of the earth. So if the Quran says that Allah has created us out of dust, out of soil, out of mud, it's absolutely correct. And when the newly born comes out, it feeds on the mother's milk, or on the milk of another mother or another animal. And this milk is the product of vegetation that comes out from the soil of the earth. So it goes back to the soil, the earth's dust. When he is mature enough to be able to eat and stop suckling, then he can eat vegetables and fruits and milk and even some meat. And this is all derived from the elements of the soil. So if the Quran says that we are created out of the earth's soil, it's absolutely correct. Out of mud, it's absolutely correct, because water and dust can create mud. So really, the Quranic description is so precise, so integral, so complete, that it can speak for itself, that this cannot be the word of man, it's the word of the Creator in its divine purity. And we will have a short break and we'll come back to you, inshallah, to elaborate on these cosmic verses that speak about the description of the successive stages in the embryological development of man. So until then, please wait for us. Dear viewers, welcome back to our discussion about the very precise Quranic descriptions for the successive stages in the embryological development of man. For the Quran, a book revealed more than 14 centuries ago to an unlettered prophet, peace be upon him, in an unlettered society, to describe these successive stages with such precise descriptions, morphologically as well as time-wise. An-nutfa, a small drop of water; an-nutfa al-amshaj, a fertilized ovum or a zygote; al-alaqa, a leech-like stage; al-mudgha, a small piece of chewed flesh; then the creation of bones and the coverage of bones with flesh and skin. These have been proved to be exactly the precise successive stages in the embryological development of man. The most elaborate textbooks on human embryology of our time describe these stages in days or in weeks. But for the Quran to spell the description in such a full manner, in such a precise manner, is something beyond the capacity of man. Only we came to realize the correct Quranic description after a minute camera has been placed in the uterus of a pregnant lady, and it has photographed these successive stages in exactly the same plan outlined by the glorious Quran. I recall that many of the distinguished scholars in the area of human embryology, like Keith Moore and Marshall Johnson and the like, stood up in international conferences to say that the Quranic description to the various successive stages in the embryological development of man is more integral, is more complete, is more precise, is more encompassing than any scientific description. And when they were faced by this, they had to admit clearly in front of a large audience of scholars that the Quran cannot be the work of man, because no man knew these stages until very, very recently, when that minute camera was placed in the uterus of a pregnant Italian lady. So I dare say that the Quranic description of the successive embryological stages of man is one of the clearest cut scientific notions that can testify to the fact that the Quran cannot be the work of man, is the word of the Creator in its divine purity. And these descriptions can be used to introduce the Quran to the people of our time, those people who have been highly fascinated by the recent discoveries in the area of science and technology. So I reiterate again the fact that the Quran is not a book of medicine, is not a book of science. It is a book of guidance to man in areas that cannot be clearly addressed by man, such as the area of faith, the area of acts of worship, the area of the moral code, and the area of the code of transactions with others. Yet, amidst these four basic foundations of the Quranic message, we can see more than 1,000 cosmic verses, and these cosmic verses come in the context of testifying to the might, knowledge, and wisdom of the Creator, come in the context of testifying to the fact that inasmuch as Allah has created, He has got the capacity to annihilate His creation and to resurrect everything again out of nothingness. And the area of resurrection has been highly debated by agnostics and unbelievers throughout the history of man. And these cosmic notions come also as an address to the people of our time, that era of scientific and technological advances unparalleled in human history, to talk to people in the language they can understand, in the language they can respect and honor, to prove to them that the Quran is the divine word in its divine purity, and to prove to them that Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was not inventing the Quran out of his own mind, but he was receiving it through the Creator himself, through Archangel Jibreel. So this is the divine word in its divine purity. It has to be honored, respected, and obeyed by every sane person. And by this we can invite to Islam in a scientific language that can be accepted by the people of our time. And Islam has been highly attacked by anti-Islamic powers throughout the media. And I think we have to really work hard to present the real image of Islam, which has been tarnished by the anti-Islamic powers, to have been really misrepresented to the media and misrepresented to the people of our time. And one way of doing this is elaborating on the scientific notions in the glorious Quran in a highly professional manner, without trying to twist the meaning of the verse. Just present what's there honestly and clearly, and use the guidelines that have been laid down for dealing with that topic, the topic of scientific notions in Quran and Sunnah. And if we can do this properly, I think we can gain the waged battle against Islam and against Muslims in most of the media of our time. And Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, has given us the glad tidings that the last hour will not come until Islam has entered every single home on the surface of that globe. So this is an enhancement to Muslims to work hard in that area and to try to present these scientific notions in Quran and Sunnah, every one of us in his or her own field, present it rationally, professionally, scientifically, using the guidelines to deal with that area, and presenting it to others in the most wise, tender, kind manner, so that Allah can guide people to His right path. And we know that Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, has told us, لأن يهدي الله بك رجلا واحدا خير لك من الدنيا وما فيها أو مما طلعت عليه الشمس أو من حمر النعم أو كما قال. If Allah can help you to guide a single soul to the right path of Allah, this will be far better for you than this whole world and everything that's in it. Dear viewers, I hope that the message is clear, and that we can use these scientific notions in the Quran rationally and professionally to make da'wah to this religion, which is the only religion accepted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because it is established on the basis of the last form of divine guidance to man, and the only form that has been preserved by the will of the Creator himself in its language of revelation, the Arabic language. The glorious Quran is the only form of divine guidance to man that has been kept intact in exactly the same language of revelation, the Arabic language, preserved by the will of the Creator himself, word to word and letter to letter. And I dare say that the mere fact that the Quran has stood for more than 14 centuries without a single letter being added to it or deleted from it is enough testimony that this book is guarded by Allah, is protected by the Lord of the universe, is preserved by the will of the Creator. So we have to struggle hard to bring that guidance to as many people as we can, without any imposition. Because if you try to impose religion, you are bound to change people into hypocrites. And Allah does not like hypocrisy or hypocrites. Allah would like the belief to emanate from deep within the hearts and minds of people through personal conviction, not through outward imposition. So Muslims are asked to represent the Quran and the Sunnah to the people of our time in the language they can understand, the scientific language. And the easiest tool for that is the very many scientific notions that come in between the verses that invite for the Islamic faith, the Islamic acts of worship, the Islamic moral code, and the Islamic code for the transactions between people. And if we can do this, I'm sure that we can solve many of the world problems, because the essence in man is the goodwill. The bad actions are imposed by the devils, whether these are human devils or unseen devils from the jinn. So we have to really work hard to reach the goodness in every human soul and present Islam to each human soul in the language he or she can understand, rationally, logically, kindly, wisely, hoping that we can play our role in solving many of the world problems as we have been instructed by our Creator. And inshallah, I will leave this thought with you, hoping that every person watching me on that Peace TV can work hard along these lines, so that we can work together in saving humanity from many of the calamities we are facing in the boiling pot of the current affairs. With this thought, I leave you inshallah in peace and greet you in our Islamic way. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. May Allah's peace, blessings and mercy be with you all. Hoping that this reminder can remain with you and you can react on it, so that we can fulfill what I have advocated for during these few episodes. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.